test, test. Testing, testing.
Fans, welcome to Pat Bale Field, home of your Alameda Merchants. Today, and starting for the Stompers is Sean McBroom. Now the lineup for your Alameda Merchants, announced by manager T.C. Fairfield. Batting second, shortstop, number 3, Jace Jeremiah. Batting third, left fielder, number 20, Jackson Nystrom. Batting fourth, designated hitter, number 21, Emmett Finney. Batting fifth, center fielder, number 5, Cy Turner. Batting sixth, first baseman, number 28, Ben Giovanetti. Batting seventh, catcher, number 17, Riley Winchell. Batting eighth, right fielder, number 4, Noah Smallwood. And batting ninth, third baseman, number 1, Ben Seitz. And starting for the Merchants is number 33, Logan Stelling. Now, players and fans, please rise if you are able to for the playing of the national anthem.
It is July in Alameda. Ethan Siegel and Kyle Floyd back with some Alameda Merchants home baseball here at Pat Bale Field. Kyle, it's been a while since we've been here at home. The past 2 weeks, the Merchants have gone on the road for the Grand Forks International Tournament up in British Columbia, had a handful of road games and a few days of rest, but now back in action for a huge July push as they try and make the CCL postseason, currently sitting second in the North Division standings. But first on this back half of the schedule slate, the Sonoma Stompers, who are right neck and neck with Alameda for that second place spot, and Sonoma is hot. 4 wins in a row, and Kyle, it's a good team. We've seen them plenty already this season.
Very good team, well-balanced team, especially their pitching staff is what I want to watch. How these Merchants hitters are able to handle this pitching staff. First in ERA, second in WHIP. They can strike you out. It's going to be a tough task for the offense, one that I hope they're up to today.
And Kyle, on the other side of the coin, the Merchants found some good things offensively while they were up on the other side of the border up in Canada. A few players who maybe weren't the team's biggest contributors during the month of June really starting to find their stride in the month of July.
Well, it's a new look lineup, at least in terms of what we're used to in the games that we've done, right? We've got Latimer, who's on fire atop the lineup. Dittmer really broke out in that tournament. Nystrom hit multiple bombs, 4 bombs, I think. Cy Turner is starting to come on. So we're going to see all those guys at the top of the lineup and see if they can get us jump-started today.
Unfortunately, Alameda was not able to win the Grand Forks International Tournament. Started 3-0. It looked like they had a good chance, but then 2 tough losses. But now everyone is fresh. 5 days rest coming into this all-important CCL contest. On the mound today, it will be Logan Stelling on the bump for the Merchants. Colton Boardman will be the first. It's Sonoma wearing gray, meanwhile Alameda in the royal blue and yellow alternate uniforms. Stelling misfires for the first pitch. And in terms of what's going to be supporting Logan Stelling today, Riley Winchell behind the dish. Infield left to right, Benny Seitz, Jace Jeremiah, Caleb Latimer, and Ben Giovanetti. In the outfield, Jackson Nystrom, Cy Turner, and Noah Smallwood.
It's going to be an interesting data point today, I think, in the rest versus rust argument, Ethan. You mentioned the Merchants having a few days off. Sonoma's been pretty nonstop. They have won 4 of their last 5 and 4 straight, but you'd imagine these arms on the Merchant staff are a little bit rested, and we'll see what that does for their offense as well.
Stelling kicks and fires the 2-1, swung on and tapped back. And Kyle, usually you would say that there'll be a huge rest advantage, but we'll get to see some of this Sonoma pitching staff, which you mentioned is so good. And, you know, usually we would say which arms are available, but the answer today is just about everyone because a complete game shutout yesterday, 9 innings in a 2-0 victory for Sonoma yesterday. Against the Legends, only 3 hits allowed from Devin LaGuinto. The count is now full on shortstop Colton Boardman.
Yeah, tremendous start. Exactly what you're looking for from that caliber pitcher. He is one of their consistent starters, and going against an offense like this, you want to have all your arms rested. I'm sure they were overjoyed to see that result from him yesterday.
The payoff pitch was skied foul, so we'll step back in and do it again. Logan Stelling of University of Memphis, making his 4th appearance of the season. ERA just a bit under 5. Payoff pitch once again. Tapped over to the first baseman, Giovanetti. Scoops it and steps on first. And that's how July baseball at Pat Bale Field will get started.
Yeah, nice little rollover that he got there from Boardman. Pulled that outside pitch. A great start for Stelling. His last time in conference play was the 19th against the Crawdads. He went 3 innings, only gave up 1 hit, but he did walk 3 and didn't strike out anybody. And so you'd like to see that turn. We get ground balls like that, weak contact like that, then he'll be okay.
Brings up Nick Sebastiani. Watches the first pitch go by him. Sebastiani hitting .288 so far this summer in 21 games with the Stompers. Leads the team as well as the CCL as a league with 4 home runs, so can certainly supply some power and shows it off there. Sends one deep into center, trailing back towards the warning track. Off of the fence. Turner collects it and tosses it to the cutoff man. But Sebastiani is sliding into third. A triple off the bat of Nick Sebastiani, and boy, has he gotten hot as of late.
Stelling on the mound is primarily fastball slider. He'll mix in an off-speed occasionally, but he really relies on that fastball, on that slider, which means that it's really going to be about location with that breaking ball. That time he hung it right over the middle of the plate, right in the kitchen for Sebastiani, and he took care of it.
Sebastiani, who already came into today's game, we mentioned that power with 4 home runs. Another extra base hit there. Now Paul Lazul with 1 out. A chance to get an early lead for Sonoma.
You can't be surprised, right? Like we said, they won 4 straight. coming out hot again.
Stelling fires the first pitch in for a strike, and you mentioned Stelling, that righty fastball, sinker, slider. He's not a pitcher who will wow you with his strikeout numbers. And see, sends one softly hit up the middle. Second baseman Latimer has to reach up to grab it. Tosses over to first, but the run will score. Sebastiani advances 90 feet, and Sonoma takes a 1-0 lead here in the top of the first.
Yeah, good to see him get another ground ball there after hanging that breaking ball. Real nice play from Latimer there. Made the decision ahead of time that he was going to wait back on that. Still suffered that real high hop and was able to stay calm and corral it and toss it to first for the out.
Nonetheless, Lazul does his job. Sonoma gets an early lead. Now the catcher, Connor Pawlowski, steps in. Hitting .214 in 12 games so far this summer. Last time these two teams faced off in the catcher spot, it was Esteban Sepulveda who really hurt the Merchants, had 2 doubles and a home run. But this time, Pawlowski, 2 plays in a row for the second baseman Latimer. And that'll end the inning. But Sonoma jumps out to a 1-0 lead. Back for the bottom of the first here at Pat Bale Field. Ethan Siegel, Kyle Floyd on the call. And for Sonoma on the bump, it'll be a new addition to the roster, the righty Sean McBroom. McBroom, not new to Sonoma, however, appeared with the Stompers last summer, went 3-0 in just over 8 innings of work and a perfect 0 ERA, and also a really impressive 0.6 whip. Admittedly, a small sample size, but plenty of good stuff. Offers fastball in the mid-80s to go with changeup, slider, and curveball. First pitch swung on and sent foul for Caleb Latimer. First time here at home, at least, we've seen anyone other than Dominic Nahar in that leadoff spot for Alameda. Nahar home for the week, so some new lineups today. Very different 1-2. We've gotten so used to in left field, center field, hitting 1-2, that combination of Nahar and Ben Ryland, but will look a little bit different today. Ryland should be available in games later this week, although he's not in the starting lineup today.
Yeah, we'll miss Nahar for a couple days here while he's back home, so some opportunity for some other players in center field.
Latimer goes down swinging on 3 pitches. Brings up Jace Jeremiah, shortstop, who's pretty consistently been one of the best Alameda hitters all season long. Still hitting a .304 average and OPS over 1,000. Didn't make the trip with the team to the tournament in Canada, so it's been about 10 days since he's last played. But wastes no time swinging at a pitch. skies this one toward the right side. Trailing back, it'll be an awkward play, but an impressive play from McCann Libby while sliding. Had to track that one over his shoulder like a deep ball in football, and he read it perfectly. Second out recorded.
Yeah, incredible play, ranging all the way into the outfield to his left. Looked like it might drop into that proverbial Bermuda Triangle in between the first baseman and the right fielder, but then Libby came darting over into a nice slide right in front of the bullpen over there. Showed great poise in making that catch.
And all of these Merchants hitters have been swinging at these first pitches. Kyle, you're nodding your head as if you were about to bring up the same thing.
5 pitches and 5 swings. We know about the Merchants' aggression on the base paths, but it looks like they had an edict today to come out swinging.
Jackson Nystrom takes the second pitch, but it's in there. Nystrom, one of the stars of the Grand Forks International Tournament. The first game against the Grand Forks Flagdusters had 2 homers in total across 5 games, 4 home runs. Hit .438 with 9 runs batted in. He pokes this pitch foul, and the bat of Nystrom, Kyle, really starting to come alive. Before the season, when we talked to manager T.C. Fairfield, he said, this is a guy who has just a ton of raw power, and we are finally seeing it on full display. Still waiting for that first home run of CCL play, though.
Yeah, real deal power, he called it. Got to participate in the home run derby up there, made it to the final round. Lost 6-5, but...
Yeah, beat out 10 other hitters to even get to the finals. I didn't even mention that with the 4 home runs that counted in the game, the fact that he was Alameda's representative in the home run derby, as you were quick to point out. But he's behind 0-2 with 2 outs here. McBroom.
It's going to be one of the keys today against this pitching staff, I believe, is he's just able to get a piece of that breaking ball. So we mentioned that they're first in ERA, and a big part is that teams only slug .266 against this Stompers staff, and so you're going to be counting on big bats like Nystrom in the middle, like Finney behind him, to see if we can get some extra base, some slug off this pitching staff.
A wise take there for the first ball of the at-bat, and it's a good point, Kyle, especially with those traditional on-base guys, Nahar, Ryland being out of the lineup. Maybe you can supplement that by, instead of replacing that on-base percentage with just a ton of power, look for some extra base hits today. Now the 1-2 count. Up in the zone, but it looked like Nystrom's bat was over the front of the plate for strike 3. Quick inning of work. 1-2-3 for Sean McBroom. That'll end the first here in Alameda. One to nothing, the road team leads here as we get set for the top of the second on the Merchant Streaming Network.
Leading off for the Stompers, second
Logan
baseman,
Stelling
49,
still on the
McCann
bump
Libby.
to face McCann Libby, who just made a really nice play in the bottom of the half, the first trailing into foul territory to make a sliding catch.
Yes, he did. Sometimes at this level, the defense can be a little questionable, but that was a big league play that he made.
You mentioned 2 teams that are both really competitive in terms of win-losses and right back-to-back in the standings, but this Merchants defense has been really good thus far. Meanwhile, it's been a bit of a struggle for the Stompers on the defensive side. Second in the entire CCL North or South Division in errors per game. They make up for it with some really excellent pitching, which we saw there in the bottom of the first, but now a chance to add to the lead in the top of the second. It's McCann Libby who's struggled against Alameda so far this season, just 2 of 13, hitting 154, and this won't help the average as Jace Jeremiah charges that one, tosses it over for the first out.
Another batter out in front for Logan Stelling. I count 4 ground balls out of the 5 hitters so far, so that is a good sign. You don't need the Ks necessarily if you're going to induce that weak contact. Everything on the infield except for that Sebastiani triple.
Brings Brady Shannon to the plate, who had a tough day yesterday in the win against the Legends, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, looking to break out of that slump. Hitting .232 overall this season as he's making this appearance in his 23rd game. Home plate umpire Ricardo Rodriguez says Shannon didn't go on that first pitch, so it'll be ball 1. Another wise take. Count moves to 2-0. Kyle, if you take a look in the Merchants dugout today, it's definitely a shallower group of depth today. Just summer league ball availability can really vary day to day. It's a roster that to deal with some different lineups this past week up in Canada, with a few players unable to make the trip north of the border. But manager TC Fairfield said it was a really, really great trip in terms of team bonding and just getting this club to be as one. Said there were a few games that also got a little bit chippy as well, and the team really rallied as Stelling. It's a big swing and a miss to even the count at 2-2.
Yeah, he said entering today's game that they are light on outfielders, but they were heavy on vibes during that tournament for sure. You said that it was great for the guys, a great bonding trip, as you mentioned, out there in Canada. Sounded like a great time, despite some silliness with the way that the tournament played out. His words, not mine. Coach TC's words, I should say, not mine.
He said silly in terms of a combination of just some weird events. Said there were a few streakers on the field, and a few other hijinks that made for a very exciting weekend as the payoff pitch not in the zone. So a walk for Brady Shannon.
It's the Grand Forks International Baseball Tournament. How could there not be hijinks? Come on.
And you mentioned short on outfielders a little bit during that tournament, and that's carried over back into California. We're seeing some new fielders out there. Jackson Nystrom out in left, Noah Smallwood out in right, and Cy Turner shifting over to center. Very different than what we've typically seen from the outfield. Traditionally, we've seen Turner in right field pretty often, but it's been a lot of Nahar and Ryland and even Hayden Young-Goldberg when those guys haven't been available.
It's a good opportunity for Turner in center field. Not to intel that he may be deciding on a school, potentially on the D1 level here coming up. So an opportunity to put some good center field defense on tape for him.
And right now, Kyle, Stelling's been struggling a little bit to find consistency in terms of being just able to find that strike zone.
Third straight hitter that he started 2-0. And Shannon started 2-0. He climbed back into the count, but then he showed good patience. There's one thing that this Stompers offense will do. They will show good patience.
Runner goes on the pitch. And a wise decision as the second baseman, Latimer, had to trail over to cover the bag, and the ball was hit right where he would have been, got through him to the outfield, and now runners on the corners on a broken bat single up the middle.
Perfectly executed hit and run if you are the Stompers. Just unfortunate for Stelling. He made a perfect pitch. That bat dies a hero for Sonoma, but well-timed play there, and now first and third.
And it looks like there's some discussion right now. Having a hard time trying to figure out what is being discussed, but it looked like Shannon was called out by the third base umpire, Robert McGee. Kyle, I'm trying to decipher why that might have been.
He might have touched the ball.
Perhaps the ball might have hit him as he was running, and without instant replay, not much he can do to protest the call. Not sure if they're saying he missed second base, if they're saying that the ball tapped him on the way over, but a inning-swinging decision, as now it'll be 2 outs with a runner on first instead of 1 out with a runner on corners.
That is an inning saver if you are Stelling. First and third, 1 out. You still have the double play in order, but a lot more pressure with that runner on third base.
And that last ball was if the runner wasn't going, that's a pretty straightforward double play that we would have seen on that last pitch. And nonetheless, the inning stays alive for Sonoma, but certainly not the potential of what it could have been with runners on the corners. With Hegeman now standing on first, it's Trent Keys up at the plate. He swings and lifts one in foul territory.
Want to watch Hegeman over there at first base. He's got a couple stolen bases this summer, had 8 this spring.
Yeah, Hegeman, another late addition to the roster, making an appearance in just his 6th game, but keeping that average above 300 with that hit. He's been good in limited sample. The 0-2 pitch inside for a ball. Trent Keys hitting just 171 so far this summer, but a whopping .532 on base percentage because he has 13 walks and a team-leading 14 hit by pitches. So that one escapes the catcher, Winchell. Plenty of time for Hegeman to be able to head over to second, so now a runner advancing into scoring position. That one looked like it was in Winchell's glove, just kind of escaped him.
Yeah, that's probably going to be scored as a pass ball, just a fastball, and just snuck out the end of his glove. So after all that, they get a runner in scoring position opportunity again.
It is indeed called a passed ball, and now the 2-2 pitch. After Stelling was ahead 0-2, 3 consecutive balls, and an early trend in this one. Lots of full counts for Logan Stelling.
And it looked like that was the pitch he wanted to show, by all indications, by his catcher. Pitch that he wanted to deliver outside. It's a good take by Keys.
Payoff pitch swung on. Jeremiah tried to dive, but it got past him. Left fielder Nystrom picks it up and sends it in. It'll keep Hegeman at third, but a 2-out single. And now runners are on the corners anyways.
Yeah, that's an impressive job by Keys. He got the fastball in, and he was behind it. It looked like it almost could have broken his bat, but he pulled the hands in just in time with enough on it to line it into left field. So you like the ball in play results for the most part by Stelling, but he's in trouble here. I also want to note Jeremiah with the hops getting that ball cut off to prevent Keys from going to second. That could prove to be a big play.
Hops twice in the play, once laterally to try and make a play on that ball that was just a few feet away from his outstretched glove, and then another time, as you mentioned, to jump up and snag that ball from Nystrom in the outfield. Now it's the 9-hitter, Anthony Shepler, trying to tack on some runs with runners on the corners. Stelling's been living dangerously early on this one. An inside pitch, but a big swing and a miss at a breaking ball.
Yeah, a lot of break on that one. That's a really good pitch for him there. He hasn't been able to get many of these Stompers hitters to chase outside of the zone so far.
Another pitch swung on and just tapped. So Stelling works ahead against Shepler, who appeared in 4 games this past season for Ohio State. Just 4 at-bats on the year for the struggling 5-25 Buckeyes, who finished last in the Big Ten, looking to rebound this upcoming season. The 1-2 pitch from Stelling outside. We mentioned Stelling, not a pitcher high in strikeout totals, and he's gotten a few 2-strike at-bats, but has really struggled to slam the door.
Yeah, he's tried to hit the outside corner with that sinker, that 2-seamer, multiple times, and hasn't hit the corner, hasn't gotten them to offer at it.
Runner going from first, but he'll have to head back as that one trailed foul. The first baseman, Joe Vanetti, tried to reach a blooping ball, but unable to get to it.
Stelling definitely a pitch-to-contact guy, and so he's got to be close enough to entice that contact, and he's got to make sure that he misses the barrel as well. See if maybe he tries to bury a slider like he did on that first pitch here.
So the 2-2 count once again. Outside, another full count.
Another fastball taken outside, well off the outside corner, and that's too easy a take in a 2-strike count.
Stelling already approaching 40 pitches. Runner goes again. Won't matter. That pitch is inside, ball 4 for Anthony Shepler. Now the bases are loaded for the top of the order and Colton Boardman.
Shortstop, number 3, Colton Boardman.
And Kyle, what would you try and diagnose the issues for Stelling so far, as it looks like manager T.C. Fairfield is running out to maybe try and do the same thing?
The balls are not competitive. I think that's mostly the issue. When the Stompers have made contact. For the most part, it hasn't been hard contact. Sebastiani did have the triple to center, and Keys went the other way. He got some pretty good wood on that. But when he's fallen behind, when he's walked guys, it's been really easy takes on the fastball outside, like I mentioned, and perhaps that influences his confidence in going to the slider. It seems like we haven't seen a whole lot of sliders because he's trying to get command of that fastball, but he's going to pound you with those sinkers, and it's got to be over the plate, especially to these left-handed hitters. If it's outside, it's an easy take. They can see that all the way. So whatever he's got to do mechanically, he's got to find a way to better command that fastball.
And it leads to a very frightening predicament at the moment with the one-hitter Colton Boardman stepping in, hitting .278 on the season. Already has 10 RBI. A chance to really add to that number here with the bases loaded. Swings on the first pitch and taps it past the left side of the infield. Seitz couldn't get to it. That'll score 1. That will score 2. Sonoma takes a 3-0 lead on a single from Colton Boardman. The third single of this second inning to go with 2 walks, and it's been a tough early going for Alameda.
That's the epitome of not trying to do too much. That pitch looked like it might have been a little bit up, but especially left-handed hitters with that break to the outside, you go up and you just think the other way. And that's what Boardman did. He was looking fastball, immediately shot it the other way, and now you got a hit by pitch.
So once again, the bases will be loaded as Nick Sebastiani was plunked by a pitch from Stelling. He's had some command issues early on this season. That's his 5th hit by pitch. Just about 9 innings of work this season.
Yeah, Sebastiani not happy about that one. A little glare back towards Stelling. You don't think it's intentional, but anytime it comes up towards the head like that, they're not going to be too happy on the other side.
And going back to that 2 RBI single by Colton Boardman, he has been absolutely nails against the Merchants so far this summer. Now, 6 of 14 against Alameda, and hits in all 4 contests between those games, and now 4 RBIs, 2 walks, 2 stolen bases. He's been doing everything and really damaging Alameda. He's just someone you have to watch out for if you're Fairfield and company.
Yeah, and the Merchants pitching staff as a whole is not really a strikeout staff. Boardman does not strike out very much, so a hitter like that, it's not so surprising that he's had a lot of success.
Stelling still scattering pitches everywhere but the strike zone as Paul Azul. An easy take for ball 1.
Yeah, he had 3 walks his last time against Walnut Creek, and we're seeing some similar command issues. That's a good pitch.
Really good pitch. Froze Lazul. And unlike Boardman, a guy who's actually really struggled against Alameda this summer, just 1 for 9 against the Merchants this summer with 4 strikeouts. The 1-1. Big swing and a miss. So Stelling able to work ahead. So now Sebastiani on first, Boardman on second, Schepler on third. Going back to the Shannon walk, even though he was called out on the base path, great. Oh, must have just missed the zone, Kyle. A chance to get out of the inning, but Stelling will have
strikes to all 4 hitters so far.
Swing and a miss. Strikeout number 3 for Sean McBroom. He's been chugging early in this one.
Yeah, not sure if that was the breaking ball or the changeup, but it is important to note that he does offer 4 pitches, fastball, changeup, slider, and curve, as you mentioned. Especially important.
Center fielder.
All the right-handed hitters are really going to have to stay back on some of his off-speed stuff.
Well, that's the 5th consecutive first pitch strike to a Merchant hitter. Turner, a guy who was really struggling before the break, hitting just 133 in the 5 games prior to the Grand Forks International Tournament, but really turned it around at the tournament. Hit 316 in 4 games, 3 multi-hit games, including a handful of extra base hits, had 3 doubles while the team was up in Canada. his bat coming to life would do so much to help the middle of this lineup.
And he is immensely talented. The tools that he has, the patience in the box. There's a lot of potential there that can be unlocked if he can come online.
2-2 count. He's a guy that TC Fairfield wanted to shout out, said he's really been coming along. The average still waiting to catch up a little bit, still just 167 on the season, but he's been putting together good at-bats, including this one. One roped out to right field, bounces in the warning track, collected by the right fielder, Shannon, but it's heading towards third, and it'll be a triple. Almost went home, but some good backup defense. But Cy Turner got a hold of that ball, sent one on a rocket out to the 325-foot fence in right field. Now stands 90 feet away from home plate.
And that's the advantage of being a left-handed hitter going against one of those breaking balls. He was able to see that big curveball that dropped right into his kitchen for a left-handed batter, down and in. He just roped it off that right field wall.
Turner's first triple of the season. And now Ben Giovanetti, a chance to bring him home.
Need a ball in play here, Ethan.
Pass ball, Turner's gonna chug along towards home. And that'll score one for Alameda. 3-1 ball game. Cy Turner getting his cardio in on that triple and then dashing home to get Alameda's first run of the ball game.
He almost went home on that triple. It was a great job by the pitcher McBroom of backing up third base, but they gifted to him anyway there.
That one bounced so far off the backstop. I was wondering if the catcher Lowski would actually have a play on Turner there, but still in with plenty of time as Giovanetti spikes one into the ground towards the shortstop. Boardman off his back foot. Plenty of velocity on that one over to the first baseman Keys to get the second out, making it look easy from the sixth spot.
Yeah, Boardman, a tremendous defender over at short.
Catcher, number 17, Riley Winchell.
Grew up idolizing Brandon Crawford. Obviously, the Giants shortstop, longtime shortstop. It was a Crawford-like play there.
Yeah, that's been a really commonly responded answer in terms of favorite athlete, model game after. You see, as expected, a lot of Bumgarner, a lot of Brandon Crawford.
A lot of Posey.
As Winchell gets a hold of one, skies one out towards left center, headed toward the warning track. This one's going to bounce in. The left fielder, Sebastiani, scoops it, then fumbles it, but it'll be a double for Riley Winchell. 2 extra base hits in the bottom of the second. Plenty of power being supplied here for Alameda.
I'm going to have to throw down a BOOM in front of that double in my scorebook because that was a booming double out to left center field. That breaking ball isn't quite a problem for those right-handed hitters if it's going to hang quite like that, and Winchell did not miss it. And it's really, really positive showing here from the Merchants after that 2-run inning in the top half, going down 3-0. Did not allow the shutdown inning and a chance to pull a run closer here.
A good quick response by Alameda. With all the momentum in Sonoma's corner after an inning and a half. Now Noah Smallwood, who admittedly has really struggled so far this season, but can really start fresh after hitting 250 up in Canada and can really turn the page as things go into July. Forget about the 0.63 batting average he had in the month of June. Winchell takes a hop on second base as McBroom, who looked so sharp in the first inning, is still throwing some really nice pitches here in the second, but just 2 left in the zone and have been absolutely rocketed out to the warning track. Not to mention the wild pitch also that got past the catcher and allowed a run to score. Now the 0-2 pitch. In the zone, strike 3. McBroom escapes, but 1 run comes across. 3-1. Stompers lead after 2. Back for the top of the 3rd. The Merchants lead the season series so far 2-1, which has certainly come into play with the Stompers sitting at 15-9, the Merchants sitting at 10-5. The Stompers have the better winning percentage, but it's actually, or I should say the Merchants have the better winning percentage, but it's actually the Stompers who are closer to the North leading Crawdads in the division standing, just a game back as the first out relatively routine. Pulowski grounded out to Jace Jeremiah.
Second baseman, number 49, McCann.
Brings up McCann Libby.
It's a good sign for Stelling in this inning, back to getting ground balls on the first pitch of that last at bat, and in the zone with the fastball on the first pitch, which is going to be really important for his longevity in this game.
Stelling now quickly ahead 0-2. After that tough second inning, would love a quick inning here in the 3rd. He's given up 4 hits so far, all singles. It's that pitch. Ooh, first base umpire Ron Masso said Libby didn't go, even though it jammed him up, and it looked like he had turned a little bit, but apparently not enough to justify a strike call.
Yeah, it looked like that caught a good amount of the inside corner, too. He could have called that on the pitch, if you ask me.
This time, no doubt about it, strike 3. Logan Stelling gets him with the backwards K, and Libby will hike back to the dugout.
Right fielder, number 37, Brady Shannon.
So 2 quick outs in the top of the inning. Brings up Brady Shannon.
Yeah. Impressive bulldog mentality being shown by Stelling this inning. Wanted to note we've got one former football player pitching to a current football player right now. See that build of Stelling on the mound. Now 5'10", 200, was a star in college in high school on the football team. Set the record back at Christopher High School with a 282-yard game on the ground. Can you imagine trying to tackle that guy?
Yeah, sounds not fun. I mean, I don't think that should take away from what Brady Shannon's accomplished. Was 3-star quarterback out of high school in Ohio and had 2,900 yards, 29 touchdowns as a senior. Ran for over 800 yards and 8 touchdowns as he skies one foul. And he set his school records in Youngstown, Ohio for career yards and touchdowns. So some decorated football players in this matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Now the 2-1 count to Shannon. Poked foul. That one tapped off his right leg before it bounced in foul territory. Definitely a stinger. He'll walk it off.
Yeah, maybe not quite as bad as getting sacked by a defensive end, but
Still
probably
can't
doesn't
imagine
feel a
feels
whole
good.
lot
Yeah.
better. Yeah, to foul a ball right off your knee. Big here if you can get out of this 1-2-3.
Another full count for Logan Stelling. We've mentioned it's a common theme. Shannon, of course, decorated football player who also played baseball in high school. Also played basketball. Quite the three-sport athlete. Went out of the Midwest. Now the payoff pitch for Stelling. Swing and a miss. A much-needed strikeout. Second of the inning for Stelling. And he goes 1-2-3 in the third. He's really settling in. Alameda will try and make some runs back in the bottom of the third. Bottom of the third, and we'll get a chance to see Ben Seitz for the first time in a while. Only a handful of plate appearances in the CCL season. Just 3 on the year, but was with the team for the Grand Forks tournament. Hit 300 in 4 games, including 3 RBI, 3 doubles. Playing third base today. Has been utilized across the middle and corner infield spots. A utility player who could really be an important part for this Merchants team as they try and make a postseason push throughout July. After 5 days off, it's a big stretch for the Merchants, who have 11 games in the next 12 days. It does include 1 non-league game on the 4th of July. But that playoff picture will really start to come into focus in the next 2 weeks or so before the CCL All-Star break. As Seitz behind 0-2 lays off the pitch.
And the games we've done, we're used to having Latimer in that number 9 spot and talking about how he's almost like a second leadoff hitter down there. Not that different with Seitz. He had 339 for the Sonoma Seawolves this spring and put the bat on the ball.
This one just tapped over lightly to Libby. Turns and tosses to Keys for the first out of the inning, and now it actually is the leadoff hitter, Caleb Latimer.
Earned his way up there to the leadoff spot with
order, second baseman, number 9, Caleb Latimer.
combination of Nahar being out and Latimer performing very well up in Canada.
Yeah, it hits in all 5 games up at Grand Forks at 381 across those games. 3 of those multi-hit games, 2 doubles, a triple, 3 stolen bases. He struck out back in the first, but trying to keep that positive momentum back in the States. Latimer's lone multi-hit game in this CCL season was actually against the Stompers. Went 2 for 4 with a double a handful of weeks ago.
This is the 10th batter that McBroom has faced. I've got 9 of them with first pitch strikes.
And at least the calls are going evenly. That one certainly could have been called a strike as Latimer froze up and kind of awkwardly backed off from the plate but turned the wrists.
Yeah.
First base umpire Ron Masso being generous for both these teams.
We saw Nystrom get
That's
called
live.
out on that. Excuse me.
1-2. Just inside, evens things up. Latimer does have a 17% walk rate, relatively friendly. This one, tap to the shortstop. Way over the head of Trent Keys. So Latimer will be safe at first. That should be an E6, allowing Caleb Latimer to reach safely. Everything looked clean, and we saw a very similar play last inning. Fielded it, threw off his back foot with plenty of velocity, and it was perfect. That time, just airmailed it.
Well, and the speed of Latimer certainly influences that throw as well. He had to sort of be off his back foot instead of being able to really transfer his weight properly because he had to get the throw over there.
Jeremiah.
And it sailed on him. You'll take it if you are the Merchants. Actually, I wanted to point out McBroom is doing an excellent job of commanding to both sides of the plate to these right-handed hitters. So it's big that Latimer was bailed out there.
Lots of righty-righty matchups, as we're saying. And that one plunks Jace Jeremiah, trailed inside. And McBroom, who has been really good with his command so far in this game, a few pitches getting away from him in the past few innings.
Feels like I have one of these a game, Ethan. You file that under announcer jinx, right?
Absolutely. And with runners on first and second, brings us to something that Coach Fairfield was telling us before the game, just about how it just completely changes the complexity. This team feels so dangerous. They feel like they're really able to get into pitchers' heads when there are runners on. Just really changes having to operate from the stretch and just worry about so much of the speed that is on the base paths. Coach said it was one of the defining characteristics of this team. This team leading the league in stolen bases per game. They're second in the league overall in stolen bases, despite having played 8 less games than, I believe, San Francisco, who leads the league in that category.
And around 90%. They're 66 of 72. They've been thrown out 6 times and stolen 66 bases this year. And so when we asked Coach Fairfield, what's the mindset?
That's a 92% rate, just some...
Excuse me. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That's
above where you want to be. Usually you're hovering in the mid to high 80s in terms of that steal percentage.
We asked Coach Fairfield how he wanted his hitters to approach facing the top pitching staff in this league, and he said, we get on base, we steal, just make them uncomfortable. Grind out at bats so we can get on base and make them uncomfortable, and they've got an opportunity to do just that right here, especially with Nystrom in the box.
I was going to say, if you're Sean McBroom, you're certainly feeling uncomfortable with the dangerous Nystrom, fresh off of that 4-home-run trip to Canada up at the plate. Takes ball 1.
This is left fielder number 20, Jackson Nystrom.
Nystrom, despite not having a home run in CCL play, has still been hitting the ball really well, although not in an everyday role. Hitting .304 with a .568 on base percentage. And asked, is he more of an everyday player going forward? And I think there's certainly a possibility based on the reaction. And that one hit sharply towards left field. That one's going to get down. Sebastiani scoops it up. Going to hold Latimer at third, but a single to load the bases with 1 out. Nystrom gets Alameda's 3rd hit of the day. And it brings up the cleanup hitter, Emmett Finney, in a huge spot.
And that pitch was commanded well.
Number 21, Emmett Finney.
To the inside part of the plate to Nystrom, but Nystrom just better at pulling the hands in and muscling that thing out into left center field. And we talked about at the top of this broadcast, Nystrom and Finney putting some good wood on the ball might be the difference for the Merchants today. So big chance for Finney.
And he struck out back in the second. That can quickly be forgotten if he's able to put a bat on the ball and put it in play here. Falls behind 0-1. McBroom fires another pitch in for a strike. Now ahead 0-2.
Can't overstate the ability to start that breaking pitch on the front hip of that right-handed hitter and land it on the inside corner. Really sets you up to be behind the fastball, to worry about the breaking ball off the plate. There's good command of that pitch being shown by McBroom.
The 0-2 in the dirt, but a good block by the catcher, Pawlowski, to be able to scoop it and keep another run from scoring. It's now 32 of 43 pitches have been strikes from Sean McBroom, about 75%. but still finding himself in some trouble here in the bottom of the third. Bases loaded, 1 out. Emmett Finney loads up and awaits the pitch. Sends one, and that's going to get through. Both the shortstop and third baseman had a chance at it, but it's going to score 1. It'll score 2. Latimer and Jeremiah come across, and we are tied after Alameda fell behind 3-0. It only took 2 innings of work to be able to make it up. And now with runners on first and second and 1 out, they're looking to take the lead, Kyle.
Yeah, that ball not hit hard by any stretch. Shepler was playing about even with the bag, so potentially got on him really quick and wasn't able to make the play. Ended up having to dive to his left on a ball that wasn't hit particularly hard. So the contact you want off the bat if you are McBroom, but not the result. And that's going to end his evening.
And Kyle, he was so good in the first inning, but where do you think things started to go wrong for him in the second and third inning? I just threw out that stat about how he was still really throwing a ton of strikes, but just a few misses. What was going wrong?
Well, you give these Merchants hitters an inch and they'll take a mile. And so we had the error by Boardman to get Latimer on first base, and then we had the hit by pitch right after that. So if you're going to put those two guys on in front of the middle of this lineup, then it's not going to take a whole lot for Alameda to be able to follow through and execute. So you've got to really limit your mistakes against an offense that can beat you in a few different ways, like Alameda's.
Well, with a new pitcher coming into the game, we're going to take a quick break and be back. Here in the bottom of the third, it's tied 3-3 at Pat Bale Field. Don't go anywhere. Micah Marquez entering the game for Sonoma, the sophomore from William Jessup University. He's thrown 7 innings so far this summer across 4 appearances. Sure, only 7 innings, but a 0 ERA is a 0 ERA, Kyle. He's been really good. Allowed 1 run, but it was unearned. Hasn't walked any batters while striking out 4 and inherits runners on first and second with 1 out after that 2 RBI single from Emmett Finney. Cy Turner, who had that absolute missile out to right field in his last at-bat. That was a triple. Marquez fires the 1-0, and that one cracked deep into center field, trailing back. Making the play at the warning track is Hageman. Cy Turner's been really putting the bat on the ball well in these past few at-bats. That one won't advance the runners, but I don't know. If you're Alameda, you're still probably pretty happy to just see these plate appearances that he's putting together.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever quite heard the word whack to that extent. Right off the
number 28,
off the bat, that was whacked
Giovanni.
out into right center field. Thought that it might have enough, but kind of a windy, chilly night here at Pat Bale Field. and it died in right center. Good over-the-shoulder play by Hegeman, but we mentioned it at the top of the broadcast that Latimer, Dittmer, who's not in the lineup today, and Nystrom and Turner really turned things up north, and we've seen that in a couple of bats so far with Turner.
Worth mentioning, just here at Pat Bale Field, the dimensions 330 to left, 325 to right, and 400 dead center. We haven't seen many home runs thus far this season here at home.
Gotten closer than we have all season tonight.
Yeah, a handful of shots out to the warning track between Winchell and two of those from Cy Turner. So now it's Ben Giovanetti, who packs some power himself, but he falls behind 0-2. This past year, hit 6 home runs, 24 starts for Ball State University. Ball State, among the best teams in the Mid-American Conference this past year, finished 21-9 in conference play, 36-22 overall. But back home for the summer here in California, grew up about an hour out of Alameda. Looks at the 0-2 go by him. Giovanetti grounded out back in the second. Continues his struggles against Sonoma now, just 1 for 11 versus the Stompers this summer with 7 strikeouts. Trying to avoid that same fate here with 2 strikes to his name. 1-2 lifted. That will stay within the field of play. First baseman Keys backs up and is under it for the 3rd out of the inning. But a 2 spot in the bottom of the 3rd for the Merchants. We're through 3.
The Big Show, we should get that for
Top of the 4th, 3-3 ball game. And with the score being tied, worth mentioning something that we've talked about in some other home games against the Stompers. Last year, these two teams played in 5 one-run games. Played in 1 already this season, and the other 2 games so far this season have been 2-run contests. So these two foes certainly familiar with close games, late game intensity, save situations, whatever you call it. And it's early in this one, but with a 3-3 score, could be headed for another good one.
Alan, it makes sense given the makeup of these two teams as well. You mentioned that Sonoma is very good pitching-wise. They're first in ERA, but they are also up there in the number of errors that they commit, which is just candy for a team like the Merchants that likes to put a lot of pressure on the base pass.
As Hegeman just gets enough of that one to stay alive down 0-2. Stelling, who really settled in the 3rd inning, has looked good to start here in the 4th, but continue that thought.
Yeah, and conversely, for a team like the Merchants that goes so deep in their lineup, to have a staff that can really hold them down, it just creates a situation where you're likely to get a lot of close games.
So now the 0-2. Winchell tried to frame it and bring it back into the zone, but Ricardo Rodriguez, the home plate umpire, deemed it a little outside, saw what Winchell was up to. So now Stelling will reset and fire a 1-2, which he'll have to do again after a foul ball. And it's really interesting the way this Sonoma team, when you look at the team stats, how they're composed. Despite leading the CCL in at-bats, they're just 5th in hits and 12th in average overall. They're 2nd in walks, and that gives them a lot of runs overall. And it's not a team that hits for a ton of power. They're 12th in extra base hits per game, and we've seen that so far today. Just 4 hits, all singles.
Yeah, but a lot of walks, and also a team that has a lot of guys who can put the bat on the ball. And if the Merchants pitching staff has a weakness, although that pitch certainly looked like it was in the zone, they can lose the zone a little bit, as we saw with Stelling earlier in the game, but he's come back nicely these last couple innings.
Hegeman takes the pitch in there, strike 3. He had started walking down to first with his bat, thinking he had a free trip down. But Logan Stelling, I feel like we've been saying that he's not a high strikeout pitcher, but so far today, he's been able to rack up quite a few strikeouts. I believe that's now 1, 2, 3, 4 on the day for the Memphis Tigers pitcher.
And a couple looking, which is a nice change given those first couple innings when he was really sort of all over the place with his command.
After 3 1/3 inning, definitely noticing a little bit of movement out in the Merchants bullpen.
Coming into this game, Coach Fairfield said that Stelling is one of our starters. He hasn't shown it quite yet in his length, but we feel good when he is on the mound.
Keys launches one out to center field. That one it looked like a ground rule double, bounced in play and then bounced over the fence. Keys is still running all the way home. But he's going to be sent back to second base for a ground rule double. Immediately, Cy Turner threw up his arms to indicate ground rule double, and then you slowly saw all 8 other royal blue jerseys throw up their arms as Keys kept rounding the bases, thinking he had a solo shot to dead center.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll cut the corner and run back from home plate to second base. Nonetheless, a towering double.
Yeah, he sort of rounded third and went to home the same way that I was slowly rounding out my point about how good we feel with Stelling on the mound as I watched that ball soar toward the fence in center field there.
Off the bat, I thought that was going to be a deep but relatively routine fly ball, and it just kept going.
Yeah, it looked like maybe off the end of the bat a little bit. He got some good contact on it, but to your point, just kept carrying.
So right as I was mentioning that not many extra base hits for this Sonoma squad, just 1.5 per game. They get their first of the day there here in the top of the 4th inning, and now a runner in scoring position with a chance to take the lead back with 1 out for Anthony Shepler, who walked back in the 2nd. This one smoked right back up the middle, but shallower than anticipated. The shortstop Jeremiah sliding in to make the play. He's able to get back to the bag and avoid the double play. Off the bat, it looked like that one also might have had a little more velo to it out into center field, but ended up just blooping and settling in the deep part of the dirt.
Well, they benefited from Jeremiah being a little closer to second base before the play there, holding the runner on second base. Otherwise, that would have been lined up the middle. But right place, right time, and you will take it if you are Mr. Stelling.
So back to the top of the order for Colton Boardman, who last time up had that 2 RBI single. Was the 5th of 6 consecutive Stompers batters to reach base back in the 2nd inning. Still a runner on second, a chance to add even more RBI. Those 2 back in the 2nd were number 11 and 12 for the Cal State Northridge infielder. Opposing manager Zach Pace has said Boardman's been a real tone setter as a leadoff guy as he pokes one foul, but said he's usually the first one to the field taking batting practice, the last one out, and really everyone follows suit just with his leadership and his work ethic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he exhibited that same leadership back in high school. He just finished his first year of college in Northridge, but was first team All-State and the offensive MVP as a senior back at Bishop Gorman High School. won a state championship with them the year before and was pointed to as a team leader.
Now the 2-1. Stelling clips the outside corner of the zone. Evens things up at 2-2. With the exception of that double, he's looked a lot sharper on the mound these past 2 innings. Still needs to escape here with 2 outs. Knotted count. Lifted to straightaway left field. Under it is Jackson Nystrom for the 3rd out. Despite the ground rule double, a goose egg on the scoreboard in the top of the 4th. We'll head to the bottom of the 4th here at Pat Bailey. Micah Marquez came in the 3rd inning and looked sharp, settled things down with a few runners on the bases. Comes back out here for the bottom of the 4th to face
number 17,
Riley Winchell.
Winchell.
Had a big double back in the 2nd. Winchell, a guy who had pretty astronomical home road splits, I should say, entering today's contest. But a 300-point difference as the catcher, Pawlowski, trailed back to try and make a play on that ball, but was unable to get to it. It'll just land harmlessly for strike 1.
Yeah, extra opportunity for Winchell. Pawlowski was back there, but seemed to either lose it in the wind or just kind of lost his footing to where he didn't feel confident making that play. On to mention, we talked about the athletic exploits of Brady Shannon and Logan Stelling. Marquez is another guy who was a 3-sport athlete in high school. Excuse me, a 4-year varsity starter in baseball, though. Has a no-hitter under his belt back in high school. Helped his team to the playoffs.
Winchell falls behind 1-2, and while we're mentioning, Winchell, another guy who played high school football, was a front 7 player, registered double-digit stacks back in 23-24. Takes an outside corner pitch, just missed, ball 2. A double back in the 2nd. Just Winchell's 2nd extra base hit of the season. He's been a relatively consistent part of the lineup, although catcher a position where you'll see lots of names shuffle in, trying to avoid having any one of those guys play too much as part of an everyday, but Winchell has played more than any other catcher for the Merchants so far this summer.
Well, and they really like him behind the plate as well, and you can see why. He's had the one issue with the pass ball earlier, but his actions and his pop time behind the plate are excellent.
He lifts one toward left field. Under it is Sebastiani for out number 1. So it'll bring up Noah Smallwood looking strikeout
Right fielder,
in his
number
last
4,
plate
Noah
appearance.
Smallwood.
Smallwood still just really trying to find his footing here in CCL play. Has a relatively high 58% strikeout rate. It's certainly not where you want to be. It's hard to earn at-bats when you're just struggling to put the ball in play like Noah Smallwood has been so far this season, but still plenty of time to turn it around.
And with the depleted roster, he's a guy who's getting an extra opportunity that he otherwise maybe wouldn't. And so you don't want to go into the game putting that kind of pressure on yourself, but instead of worrying about the struggles you have, you're thankful for the opportunity that you've got to turn it around.
And certainly know he's capable of some big numbers on the offensive end. At 2024 at Seminole State College, hit .315 with 10 homers, 43 runs batted in. So it's just about getting back to that form is a tough take. Called for strike 2. And also worth mentioning, Smallwood had a labrum injury this past year, so redshirted in 2025, so he's still working his way back from that. But swings through another pitch. A strikeout there for Noah Smallwood, his second of the day. Micah Marquez, 2 quick outs here in the 4th inning.
That was a nice breaking ball
Third
by
baseman,
Marquez.
number 1, Ben Seitz.
Talked about how he was a 3-sport athlete, and you can really see it in his delivery. It's a very athletic, easy, loose, repeatable delivery for Marquez.
So now the lefty Benny Seitz swings at the first pitch, tapped lightly, awkwardly bobbled by the third baseman Shepler, who is charging in. That'll allow Seitz to reach safely. That one was relatively flat and dribbling, but took a small hop at the lip of the grass into the dirt. And just a fumble by Anthony Shepler.
Second baseman, number 9, Caleb Latimer.
We'll gift Ben Seitz, I should say, a trip down to first base and a base runner here in the 4th inning.
And Seitz is fairly speedy, but I think if you are Sonoma, you probably want Boardman to take that play. Shepler ranged awfully far to his left and cut in front of Boardman to make that play. And if you're going to do that, you got to be sure you're going to get that.
I understand Seitz has some speed, and if you're the shortstop, Boardman trying to get that, then you have to turn some extra time.
Sure.
Meanwhile, third baseman charging and has the momentum. But I do think you're right, Kyle. It'll officially go in as an E5. It brings up Caleb Latimer, who last time up benefited from an E6. So we've seen a little bit of struggles defensively from the left side of the infield, and it's something we mentioned. Defensively, the Sonoma team struggles a little bit, and while yes, it is a fantastic pitching staff that has been so good, they've allowed far more runs than they have earned runs, which has certainly impacted that ERA, which we mentioned is top 2 in the CCL, as a big reason for their success, but certainly helped out by some defensive errors as Latimer lifts one out to right field. Under it is Shannon for the 3rd out. So a scoreless 4th inning will keep things knotted at 3. We'll head to the 5th on the Merchants broadcast. Top of the 5th inning,
Left fielder number 6,
Nick Sebastiani up at the plate. I was saying that in harmony with our PA announcer. Sebastiani gets a hold of the first one, just barely foul
Just
by a few inches.
PA announcer has been on top of his game today, I must say. Not that I'm not already hyped to see our guys bat, but really zhuzhing it up for us.
Absolutely.
Got a little bit of a skeleton crew ourselves here today. We're making it work.
Yeah, just the two of us and
We can make it if we try, Ethan.
+1 up here in the press box today. Is Sebastiani behind 0-2. He's already reached base twice today. Triple and a hit by pitch. We've already seen 2 triples in today's ball game. The seldom seen triple. This time a strikeout on 3 pitches. Logan Stelling rings him up.
Starting to see the swagger from Stelling these past 2 innings. Just the way he walks off the mound and the way he's delivering his pitches with conviction. Earlier he was really missing off that outside corner to left-handed batters, but now he's really able to command that ball to the inside part to lefties, the outside part to lefties, and the outside to righties as well. Right on cue there, hits the outside corner with a fastball.
I was going to say, right as you were mentioning it, Stelling, who's really found his groove, finding the strike zone a lot more. If you're hearing some chanting out, that's the Alameda bullpen, who is really all of the players on this team. You can feel they're disciples of their manager TC Fairfield, who at times in past leagues and has been loud, been vocal, and that's part of what caused for some chippy ball games up in Canada. Some teams who had familiarity with TC Fairfield from previous summers with his times with the Kamloops North Paws, and some chirps go back and forth, and that's to be expected in summer league ball.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few pitches there escaped from Stelling.
Well, then, we've gotten to know TC pretty well, and he's as Bay Area as California as they come, which means he's going to keep it loose. It also means they're not afraid to be who they are.
Absolutely. I have to imagine that of the 14 managers in the CCL, Coach Fairfield is the only one who will throw batting practice to his guys in a Hawaiian shirt and shorts.
Yeah.
Now the 2-2 pitch just misses against Paul Azul. Out in the count full.
Still have to talk to him about that fashion choice, but guys seem to like it. They like how loose that he keeps it, and it's created for a great team environment.
Today, TC Fairfield rocking the T-shirt over the hoodie, which I'm a fan of that look, as running over to make the play. Stelling, it looked like he had it, but just had that ball slip out of his pocket. Some great work by Latimer to go over and field that ball. Showed off the range to probably move about 20 feet over to his left to snag that ball on the edge of the dirt. And Stelling had the awareness to go cover the bag. But as I mentioned, just slipped out of his glove, so runner will reach.
Yeah, made 99% of a great play there. Everybody staying composed with, as you said, the first baseman going over and missing it. Great PFP from Stelling getting over there in time and just couldn't snag it.
I think that will be recorded as an E1 against Logan Stelling. That'll allow Paul Lazul to reach with 1 out here. In the top of the 5th, Connor Pawlowski has 2 ground outs so far. 1 to second, 1 to short. Alameda hoping another ground ball to the middle infield in play for a double play now.
Well, and we were talking off mic, Ethan, about the fact that the Merchants are one of the few teams that hasn't really settled into identifying a handful of guys who are going to go 5, 6, 7, really hold things down at the start of the game. Now, Coach Fairfield said coming in, Stelling is one of our starters, but it's really important, I think, for him and for this team, for him to be able to get through a solid 5 here. They've got a couple guys hanging out in the bullpen, but want him to be in position to pick up this W.
Stelling has thrown 85 pitches so far, including that gem, to get a swing and a miss and even the count at 2 apiece. So you have to imagine some relief will be coming within the next inning or so But after a rocky start, Logan Stelling has looked stellar on the bump. Got him going. Strike 3. Another strikeout for Logan Stelling. Second out of the inning.
And that's what he was not able to do those first couple of innings. Dotted a breaking ball on the outside corner 2 consecutive times and got Pulowski out in front both of those times.
Brings up McCann Libby. And we were tracking it early on, especially in the when talking about McBroom on the mound. But Stelling, who struggled to throw first pitch strikes in the first 2 innings, feels like there's been a lot of those in the 3rd, 4th, and now into the 5th.
Yes.
Another one right here to start things off against McCann Libby, and now we'll be ahead 0-2.
Yeah, a couple lapses here and there with the command the past couple innings, but for the most part, he's seemed in charge out there on the mound.
How about Logan Stelling with 4 strikeouts entering today's game in the 7 1/3 innings pitched? 6 strikeouts in today's game alone. Make it 7. A backwards K punch out against McCann Libby. 3 strikeouts in the 5th for Logan Stelling. Score stays at 3 as we head to the bottom of the inning. The error too.
Leading off.
Bottom of the 5th, Jace Jeremiah to start things off for Alameda. Was hit by a pitch back in the 3rd. Fly out in the 1st. Enter today's game with an OPS over 1,000. That one poked into shallow right field. Shannon steps forward and collects it for the first out.
Looked like Jeremiah was committed to swinging at the first pitch there, especially if he identified the fastball. But
number 20, Jackson Nystrom.
Ended up having to reach outside for that one. Easy fly ball out to right field.
So Jackson Nystrom, who had a sharply hit single in his last plate appearance. A lot of the metrics with Nystrom. Really good. Of course, you know, some of your base stuff, 304 batting average, OPS over 1,000. But you look at the walk rate, which is above 20%, and the strikeout rate, which is under 20%, and has the makings of a really good profile for a power hitter as he skies one way up into the Alameda night sky. But that one, unfortunately, straight into the glove of Sebastiani for out number 2.
It was majestic. Evocative of some fireworks 2 days before the 4th of July, but no harm, no foul there.
Number 21, Emmett Finney.
So 2 very quick outs from Micah Marquez, who I feel like we probably haven't talked about enough how good he's been since entering the game. It's just because he's been mowing down these batters with relative ease. Not super flashy, but just lots of weak contact, easy plays for his defense. Hasn't been too busy on the base paths.
Well, and you hear me harp on this all the time, Ethan, but it's the ability to command to both sides of the plate, and in his case with multiple pitches, that has really kept the Merchants off balance. Not a whole lot of velocity, but you don't need it if you can be in command of your arsenal.
Emmett Finney, who had the 2 RBI single back in the third that knotted this game at 3 apiece.
That's a great example. You don't see Emmett Finney take a whole lot of swings like that. They're just clearly fooled on that breaking ball and was lucky just to make some contact.
Now the 1-2 to Finney in the dirt. Get a new ball. Marquez will reset.
Like Nystrom, we're waiting for Finney to break out. Didn't play this past season, but had a monster year at Chabot in 2024. 376, 11 homers. Big bat in the middle of this lineup.
Good plate discipline there to draw the count full, and still waiting for that breakout, as you said, but in the meantime, he's still been really solid for the Merchants. 250 batting average, 486 on base percentage entering today's contest with a really good walk rate. And speaking of walks, he'll take one right there with 2 outs to end the hopes of a 1-2-3 inning for Micah Marquez.
Yeah, we see those on-base skills on display
All right,
in that
center
at-bat.
fielder, number 5, Cy Turner.
There was one non-competitive ball in the dirt that Marquez couldn't come back from because Finney has such a good idea of the strike zone.
And now we'll see if Cy Turner can make it 3 consecutive hard-hit balls after that triple and deep fly out, about as deep as it can get towards center field 2 innings ago. Pitch in the dirt evens the count. Finney has 3 stolen bases so far this season. He's standing on first at the moment. Lefty versus lefty matchup. Righty versus lefty matchup, excuse me, I should say. Generates a huge swing and a miss from Cy Turner on the 3rd offering of the at-bat.
And to keep him honest with all the off-speed stuff, was able to sneak a fastball by him up in the zone.
That one jumped way up and hit off the roof of our broadcast booth here. I didn't even know that was possible for a ball to hit the ground and then get all the way up to our elevation here. It's got to be a good at least 1 flight above field level.
Ethan, I was fairly confident that was coming right through our broadcast booth right for you, so
I was ready.
that's good. That's good. I haven't dusted off the play-by-play in quite a while, so we need you here, Ethan.
So even with the ball towards us, it'll force a reset here. 2-2 count. Allows the runner to advance to second as well. Finney now 90 feet closer to scoring and taking the lead. And another pitch outside the zone, a full count for Cy Turner.
You wonder if he'll want to be careful with Turner here, the one lefty in the lineup with the way he's swinging. Giovannetti on deck is prone to strike out. He's struggled so far in this game, so we'll see.
Turner swings on the full count pitch. Awkward play for the second baseman, and Turner's going to leg it out and be there. That was a tough play for McCann Libby, and it kind of looked like he kicked out his own leg and lost his balance as he was scooping that ball and made it for a very hard throw over to the first baseman. Now runners on the corners, and I think that should be a hit for Cy Turner, who's been so much better at home than on the road. Entering today's game was hitting .333 here at Pat Bale Field compared to just .111 in away games, and that's before 2 hits, or I guess it'll be 1 hit, and currently being ruled as an E4.
Oh, what?
I think that might be the right call. It was a little bit of a tough play. He had to range far to his left, but I believe Libby was trying to go into a slide and pop back up, and he just lost his footing and wasn't in position to make the throw to first. And another situation like with Latimer earlier, where with the speed of Turner that you have to be cognizant of, maybe you start rushing things like I just tried to rush that word cognizant.
And Kyle, that's the third error already through 5 innings for this Stompers defense. It's been 1 from third base, 1 from second base, 1 from the shortstop. And for a team that averages over 2 errors a game, which is second most in the CCL, already having 3, it's not surprising from what we've seen from this Sonoma squad. But if you're looking for reasons that this Sonoma team, which has such great pitching and some really timely hitting, some things that could hold them back from making a run towards the postseason as we go through July, you would probably point to that defense as maybe the first candidate for a potential vulnerability.
Well, that's why these teams end up playing a lot of close games, because they are a good pitching staff, but they get themselves into trouble with these mistakes. And so I mentioned how they only allow about a 260 slug against them this year. And so not a whole lot of blow-ups from the staff, but you can dink and dunk them if they're going to give you extra outs.
Yeah, they're second in whip, not giving up many walks, many hits out of those 14 teams in the CCL. They're on the podium.
And you hinted at this earlier. They've allowed 90 runs this season. Only 62 are earned.
Chance to keep the score tied at 3-3 despite runners on the corners. Runner trotting down towards second. It's going to be a close play at the bag, but just barely in there is the speedy Cy Turner. It was a great throw from Pulowski. McCann Libby was there to cover the bag. That was a 50-50 call, if I'm being honest, Kyle. It was close, but now 2 runners in scoring position despite Giovanetti being down in the count 0-2.
Yeah, and between that and the call on Shannon earlier being hit by the ball that also looked erroneous, the Stompers can't be too happy with the umpiring of Mr. Robert McGee over there. Extra chance for Giovanetti.
Huge opportunity. He smokes one towards the shortstop Boardman. 1 bounce, but the play will be made by Keys, who scoops it off a hop and records the 3rd out of the inning to escape the jam. We've been stuck on a 3-3 score for a while. It's a good one here in Alameda. Top of the 6th, day is done for Logan Stelling. Struggled early, allowing lots of base runners, but really settled in. A season-high 7 strikeouts for him, allowing those 3 runs. And Kyle, if you're Alameda, put your team in a position to go out and win this game. Really,
Yeah,
all you
for
can ask for.
Stumpers, right fielder,
Brings in the
number
righty
37,
AJ
Brady
Gamboa, making his second appearance of the year. Last played back on June 20th, his lone appearance on the season against San Francisco. Through 2 innings, allowed 2 hits, 1 run, a walk, and 2 strikeouts, and was given the win for his performance in that game. First pitch just misses. Gamboa offers fastball in the high 80s to go with curveball, changeup, slider, and cutter, although he doesn't truly utilize all those pitches, or at least hasn't been in the summer, but at least has those in his bag.
Just to
The 1-0 to Shannon in there for a strike.
close the loop on Stelling real quick. Especially important to see those 3-0s after the rough first couple innings that he had. I mentioned the word poise a lot on these broadcasts, and this thing really could have snowballed and gotten away from the Merchants early. But somewhere in between that second and third inning, he found his confidence and he found his command and was able to get through 5. With this game tied, sets the Merchants up to be able to take this one home.
Now Gamboa ahead in the count, 1-2. Just misses ball 2. This past season at Christian Brothers University, Gamboa, 15 appearances, a 5.76 ERA, and just under 60 innings of work. Back in 2023, spent time at Los Medanos College. Currently in the transfer portal with a year of eligibility remaining.
I was just about to make that point. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Ethan,
no.
to cut you off, but this is just his second appearance, as you mentioned. So you think every pitch matters for Gamboa and the transfer portal, 1 year left. This is his opportunity to put some extra stuff on tape, get the most out of his last year.
That one splintered toward the second baseman. Latimer fires over to first for a pedestrian first out of the inning, and it's a good point to Gamboa. One of many guys on this roster and really across the CCL who are, JUCO level, looking for a new home, or currently in the transfer portal with a chance to put good film on tape. And really, for a lot of these guys, this summer is a total training ground, and not only an opportunity to put on some good films and try out, if you're a pitcher, some new pitches that you might add to your arsenal or some new positions, but a lot of these pitchers are guys who are maybe coming off of Tommy John surgery or some sort of injury, and this is some of their first action back. So we've gotten a chance to see a variety of different types of players as that one escapes from Gamboa.
How many guys do we look up and we see a lot of sporadic playing time, whether due to injury or just getting lost in the shuffle on their rosters as well? And so if you then come to the CCL and you're then, again, you're only getting so many opportunities, then you really got to make those count. So big situation in the game here, tied 3-3, but huge pitches for AJ.
Great read by Ben Seitz to perfectly read that, scoop it, and toss it over. Some impressive defense on display for Alameda. Really showing the discrepancy between these two squads.
I was just about to say that. You really see the difference when the Merchants come
First
out
baseman, number 25, Trent Keith.
to play defense on the infield versus the Stompers. Very decisive, very athletic.
So now Trent Keys, who has a single and a double already, working his way up towards that cycle. He's got 40% of Sonoma's hits today. Looking at Gamboa's profile, the one thing that really jumps out to me, we asked all the players before the season for, your favorite athlete, your favorite team, athletes who you model your game after. And one of the rare non-baseball choices for favorite athlete among the Merchants was AJ Gamboa, who chose Ray Lewis and then put in parentheses for the mentality. And I just absolutely love that. Even as a Cleveland Browns fan, for him to list a Raven. Few guys batter across any league than Ray Lewis, just in terms of they'll punch you in the mouth and they'll laugh when you do it. And AJ Gamboa trying to deliver a knockout blow here from the mound.
Yeah, you talk about an attack mentality. That's Ray Lewis, and that's what you want if you're any pitcher on the mound. That's your mound. You are in charge.
2-1 fouled off for 2, but for who he models his game after, he did go back to baseball and listed a cross-generational 2 guys, Walker Buehler and Greg Maddux, which I thought was a really interesting combination of 2 guys.
Very much so. Large differences in stuff there. At least Maddox toward the end became more of a command guy.
The 2-2 in the dirt.
Certainly two good guys to model yourself after. Gamboa really takes his time on the mound.
No pitch clock here in CCL Summer Ball. You can afford the opportunity to do so. Now the payoff pitch. Winchell tried to bring it back up into the strike zone, but was just a little bit low. So Trent Keys gets aboard for the third time tonight.
Third baseman, number 52, Anthony Shepler.
I'm not so sure the extended amount of time that he takes is such a bad thing for Gamboa, though. Seems like almost the opposite of Ray Lewis. He's got kind of a lower heartbeat out there, so maybe the mentality is attack, but he's also going to show he's in control.
Shepler sends the first pitch out of play. 0 for 1 today with a walk. Now 0 for 7 against Alameda this season in 3 games. Shepler in today's contest hitting just 173 in 20 games. Struggled a bit with strikeouts, 19 of them on the young year. That pitch from Gamboa just missed, a little bit outside.
Shepler is another one of those guys who was at Ohio State his freshman year, but as a freshman, just got lost, only played in 4 games, only got 4 at-bats, so he's entering the transfer portal. Probably wants to go somewhere where he's going to get more opportunities.
That's a really good breaking ball by Gamboa that slid its way into the strike zone. And you mentioned Shepler. You have to imagine the transfer portal. There's a market for a left-handed hitter who offers you tons of power like Shepler does. Was a touted recruit coming out of high school. Runner goes on the pitch. Winchell will let him advance because it's strike 3. An inning ender for A.J. Gamboa. Making relatively quick work here in the top of the 6th. That's 4 straight scoreless innings posted by Merchants pitchers. We'll head to the home half on the Merchants. Bottom of the 6th, new pitcher in the game for Sonoma. It's the righty Chris Albee, who's got a funky arm slot was just on display here while he was warming up. Not a full submariner, but definitely coming in from a side angle so far this summer. That's making his 7th appearance in today's game, thrown just a bit over 8 innings, with a really sharp 1.08 ERA, as a save to his name offers sinker sweeper changeup.
Mentioned this righty-heavy lineup for the Merchants earlier in the game, and certainly a tough look out of that low three-quarters slot from Albie. That sweeper, he's got as much as 20 inches of horizontal break on that thing when it's right. Some natural arm side tail to that fastball. See it right there.
Riley Winchell swung through a pitch that just evaded the bat. Albie, formerly of Sacramento City College, transferred to William Jessup University, where he made 7 appearances this past season. Also a Sonoma alum, appeared for the Stompers last summer. Swing and a miss from Winchell. Last year for the Stompers, 1-0 record, 4 ERA, and 9 innings pitched for Albie.
Doesn't throw very hard, but you see how these righties have to try to stay on that breaking ball. Ahead 2-0, he missed 2 fastballs in the zone.
Winchell waited on that one. Lower speed pitch, but unable to do much with it as the second baseman Libby trailed back and made the catch for the first out. And Stompers manager Zach Pace said that his arm angle is just really tough for hitters to adjust to, and we're seeing that already so far.
Noah
Small will be the next batter to try and just adapt to it, just seeing something so different from what you've seen from so many pitchers league-wide. And another thing that Pace said about Albie, just he throws a lot of strikes, so isn't giving you much wiggle room to see that many pitches, because first thing you know it, and you're already down in the count. Not this time, though, as Smallwood watches the first pitch go by him for ball 1.
See Albie pitching from the first base side of the rubber as well. Which a lot of times maybe you'll see a side armor try to get that extra deception, be on top of the rubber, maybe on the other side, so it's coming behind that right-handed hitter. But it does create some tricks that the ball plays on your eyes when he's coming from that side, given that he's got a sinker that goes one way, and then the breaking ball is going to go the other way. But out of the hand, they both look like they're coming right at you.
Noah Smallwood head in the count 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts so far today. Albie fires. That time found the strike zone, and what you were just saying, Kyle, on full display, you could see it really froze Smallwood on that pitch where you think it's trailing outside, and it ended up just resting into the strike zone.
It's just that extra split second that you have to think about it.
Real puzzle for hitters to figure out. And Smallwood goes down swinging. Chris Albie gets the K. You know, ever since that bottom of the 3rd inning, just zeros and zeros and zeros on the scoreboard.
Number 1, Ben Seitz.
We talked about the pitching staff for Sonoma coming into this one, and everybody who's been on the mound has shown good stuff, shown good command, and now they add the variety of the side armor and Albie.
It's been a quiet middle part of this game, but that can all change very quickly with any sights up at the plate who would jump back to dodge that first pitch. Sights reached last time on an error. Swings at the 1-0. That one blooped toward left field and foul. Shepler had a chance to snag it in the breadbasket, but just slipped through his arms.
And a little bit of a tough play with how hard he had to run. Wasn't hit too high in the air. But if you're Shepler, after a couple tough plays over at third base, you probably really wanted to snag that one.
Seitz, who we truly haven't seen that much of this summer, was excellent this past season at Sonoma State University. 339 average, 9 stolen bases.
A couple times now.
Alameda looking for a base runner. Haven't had any hits since back in the 3rd, though have reached with some walks and errors. Now the payoff pitch from Albie. Tapped, foul once again.
Schepler getting his steps in over there at third.
Seitz is battling. One third baseman making the other. Get some cardio in.
Seitz can get on base here. You got the top of the lineup coming up. Chance to take the lead here.
Payoff pitch. Ball 4. A great at-bat by Ben Seitz. His first walk of CCL play this season.
Of Albie delivering from the first base side of the rubber to lefties. If he's able to dot that fastball on the outside corner, really hard for a left-hander to recognize that. Fortunately for Seitz, it drifted off and they got a base runner.
So now he's facing a righty once again, and that ball escaped the pocket of Pulowski, but Latimer telling Seitz, hold up, as that one only dribbled a few inches away from the catcher's mitt.
Be shocked if we didn't see Seitz in motion at some point here.
Latimer 0 for 2, reached on an error and came around to score back in the third. Or 0 for 3, I should say. The 1-0, dug out and swung on, but just about 2 feet to the right of that first base line out in right field.
That's that fastball on the outside corner that a couple of the Merchants hitters have been way behind, swung and missed at. It's a good sign that Latimer was able to get some pretty good wood on that one.
As we mentioned, Seitz 9 stolen bases this past season. Offers some quickness on the base pass, certainly something to be aware of with an uber-aggressive coaching staff and a chance to move a runner into scoring position with 2 outs. It's Latimer. Really good eye to take that pitch, moving the count to 2-1. And Kyle, you're absolutely right. Even on pitches that seem like they're more out of the zone, just against a pitcher like Chris Albie with such a unique angle, you just have to be thinking more about every single pitch that's coming in. Such late break.
Maybe almost want to decide to just sit on one pitch and take otherwise, but another 3-ball count for Albie here. He's got to come in the zone.
Kicks and fires outside. Consecutive walks offered by Chris Albie. Now runners on first and second for Jace Jeremiah, the most dangerous hitter in today's lineup. At least in terms of hits accumulated so far this season, I should say. I guess that's a subjective way to describe it.
One of many dangerous hitters, for sure, but especially in a situation like this when just looking for the bat on the ball against a tough side-arming right-handed pitcher. I would say, of all the guys that we have in our lineup, of all the guys that the Merchants have in their lineup, they can throw a lot of different things at you, but a bat on ball situation, you may be right.
Number 3, Jace Jeremiah.
Coming into today, Albie had faced 33 batters and walked 3. Now got 2 just in this inning.
Jeremiah swings at the first pitch, slaps it towards the shortstop Boardman, who tosses over to Libby to get the out, and yet another 0 put on the scoreboard. We're headed towards the final stretch of this game, still knotted at 3 apiece. You're listening to the Merchants Broadcast Network.
So
Some changes for the Merchants defensively here in the top of the 7th. New pitcher in the game, Tommy Curran of University of Washington this past season enters, but also Angela Luna, I should say, entering to play first base, but the first baseman, Ben Giovanetti, moving over to play third base, which then moves Ben Seitz over to right field in replacement for Noah Smallwood. Hope that catches you up.
right behind you, updating my scorebook here. I appreciate that, Ethan.
Ball 1 to the top of the order. Colton Boardman, 1 for 3 today. Curran misses way high. And Tommy Curran has fastball changeup slider. He's appeared in 2 games so far this season, at least in CCL play, with a 6.75 ERA, but made the trip with the team up to Canada where he threw 1 inning, allowed 1 hit, no runs, no walks against the Burnaby Bulldogs. Prior to this summer, his last game appearance was in mid-February, early in the Huskies season up in Seattle.
He's got a job to do this inning. 2 of the 3 hitters will be left-handed, so if you see the thinking with Coach Fairfield. Got back in the count here, even at 2-2.
2-2 pitch. Sent over, routine play for Latimer. Feels like in the past few innings, well, regardless of which pitcher has been in the game for Alameda, have been really good about getting routine first outs and just getting ahead in the innings. And that was a large reason why we saw such a fast start for Sonoma early in this game, early in first and second inning. They were able to do damage early in counts, early in innings.
No. And in addition to that, aside from a couple guys, not a whole lot of high velocity on this staff, but Curran got the first guy there to roll over like Stelling did earlier in the game. Unfortunate there.
Nick Sebastiani swung at the first pitch and will reach. A tough break for Alameda and Tommy Curran.
That's Latimer out there who just had it pop out of his glove. That's real uncharacteristic for him.
So E4 in the second error of the game for Alameda. It's now 5 total we've seen. For a usually very sure-handed defense. Pinch hitter into the game. Paul Lazul will exit the game in favor of Esteban Sepulveda, who was absolutely fantastic for the Stompers in the last game against these Merchants. Had 2 doubles and a homer on June 12th. 4 total RBI in that game and a walk. A large reason that June 12th game ended the way it did.
Pinch hitting for the Stompers.
7-5 win for Sonoma. That's the one game the Stompers have been able to take off the Merchants this season. Alameda leads the season series 2-1 so far.
Oh, when we spoke to Coach Fairfield before the game, we said, who are you looking out for in their lineup? Said the catcher from the last game. Got 2 doubles on us. And he brought in Curran to face 2 out of 3 lefties here, but exit Lazul and enter Sepulveda here. Much tougher matchup.
So runner on first and 1 out, and Zach Pace pulling some strings to try and manufacture some runs for his offense, which has gone cold after a quick start. Just the first pitch go by him for ball 1, and with a powerful hitter at the plate and what we just saw occur, have to wonder if that error is going to loom large. Tommy Curran misses again, ball 2. Sepulveda hasn't really been all that in those games, aside from that one June 12th contest, hitting just 167 in 17 games. There's 1 homer in that game, and 4 of his 9 RBI this season in that one game. That time, Curran able to find the strike zone, some snap behind that pitch.
And a huge strike. Can't afford to fall behind. 3-0 there. Got some speed with Sebastiani at first. He's got 8 stolen bases this summer. Want to focus on getting this hitter out.
2-1 offering. Poked back into the fence. Some good work by Curran. You mentioned how important it was, that third offering. Went from possibly 3-0 to 2-2 in the blink of an eye.
Sepulveda, as you detailed, struggling this summer, but as a freshman at Pepperdine, part-time duty, hit .303 this spring, so he's got talent in the box.
Sebastiani goes on the pitch. Winchell fires down, misses the glove. Actually escapes all the way out into the outfield, but Cy Turner was there for backing up the backup. But a stolen base, the first of the game. Sebastiani steals an extra bag. Now a full count against Esteban Sepulveda.
Got a good jump, but I think a better throw by Winchell there would have had a chance to get him.
Payoff pitch from Curran. Smoked Jeremiah, looks the runner back, tosses to Luna for out number 2. It's exactly what Alameda needed.
That's a huge pitch on a 3-2 count for Tommy Curran.
Catcher number 9, Connor Pulowski.
Now Connor Pulowski, 0 for 3 on the day. Curran got through the scariest part of this lineup with Boardman. Threw a good pitch against Sebastiani, but reached on an error. Now Sepulveda. Now it's Pulowski. Trying to put up a 5th consecutive 0 on the scoreboard. Good start. First pitch fouled back for strike 1.
See them playing Pulowski slightly to pull in center field. Had a lot of space in right center if he wants to go there.
The 0-1 from the lefty Curran. Huge hack, nothing going. 0-2 count. Curran, another guy who says he models his game after Madison Bumgarner.
He shoved that like Bumgarner there, didn't he?
He sure did.
A little bit of a similar delivery as well.
Now trying to close the door on the 7th inning with 2 strikes, 2 outs, runner on a second. From the stretch. Just barely missed. Ball 1.
He's got Pulowski on his heels here. Could go back to the fastball. He showed a really good slider to the first hitter this inning. That was Boardman.
Sebastiani a few paces off second base. As Curran misses again.
And have not seen him deliver one to any of the right-handed batters. Figure if he could bury one, maybe try to back foot him, you'd have him chasing.
So now the 2-2. Fires. Popped up into shallow right field. Under it to make the play is Benny Seitz. Moved over, called off his first baseman Luna, and secured the ball for out number 3. We're stretching here at Pat Bale Field. Another inning for Chris Albee. Jackson Nystrom, it feels like we've been holding our breath every time he's come up to bat so far this game. After what he did in Canada, which, to repeat for our listeners, 4 home runs in the 4 games he played north of the border. Still 0 home runs so far in CCL play, not to mention the fact that he participated, got second in the Grand Forks International Tournament Home Run Derby. And that's why every time he comes up to the plate, you know there's a chance for some fireworks. Hasn't happened so far yet today, although he did have a very hard-hit single back in the 3rd inning, 1 for 3 on the day.
Going to be 3 interesting matchups here this inning with that sidearm look from Albee against Nystrom, Finney, and then the left-hander Turner. And have to stay within themselves.
Albee gets a strike there, one fouled back on a big swing from Jackson Nystrom. Nystrom now has a 5-game hit streak in CCL play, a 7-game reached base streak in conference play this summer. And that single that he had earlier today, his first hit of the summer here at Pat Bale Field. This one smoked out to straightaway center. Running towards that 400 is the center fielder, but he has nothing to do but look up. Jackson Nystrom bombs away here in Alameda. Merchants lead 4-3, courtesy of the left fielder. We've been waiting for it all game. It's why we teed it up, and Jackson Nystrom making us look real smart here in the broadcast booth.
Well, you specifically, Ethan, I was going to say you made up for my announcer jinx earlier. You really helped that one, those last 10 or 20 feet over the fence, I'd say.
Designated hitter, number 21, Emmett Finney.
But we've seen so many of these Merchants hitters, maybe a little hesitant up at the plate trying to guard against that breaking ball, and so they've been behind the fastball. That fastball, down the middle, he was ready for it, and he took it out of this park right back where it came from.
Lost in that excitement was a heck of a scoop by the first baseman Keys on a one-hopping ball from Boardman at shortstop to throw out Emmett Finney. But going back to that Nystrom homer, which we've been waiting for, that was hit to the deepest part of the ballpark, directly above that middle zero in 400 and straightaway center. That was 410 feet, and that is why TC Fairfield says he's got real deal pro power. You saw it on full display there.
Took the words right out of my mouth, and it's worth mentioning again with Nystrom, his first time playing since 2023. We kind of threw it away on a broadcast earlier this season, and we'll get into the story more in depth, but these plate appearances this summer are his first plate appearances in 2 years after being out dealing with cancer. He beat stage 4 cancer. Before that, Adelone hit 443 games, had 65 hits, had 22 multi-hit games. He had 13 homer, 49 RBI, 16 stolen bases. He was all region. He was just a monster in JUCO ball. Goes through one of the more unimaginable situations that you can as a human being, comes back, and it's like he hasn't missed a beat here on the baseball field. He's shown power off the field, incredible power off the field, and now incredible power on the field.
San Francisco State just has to be so excited to be getting him back for this upcoming season.
USF, check that.
Yes, apologies. Cy Turner sends one over to the second baseman. A relatively easy play for Libby, even though Turner was hustling down the first baseline to make that one way closer than it should have been. Second out of the inning. But that one showing on the bottom of the 7th of the scoreboard.
Third baseman,
The lone line, an island of zeros from the past 4 innings, and it is the difference in this game. It's going to give Alameda a lead in the 8th and 9th inning for a bullpen that's been really rock solid so far today and throughout most of the season.
What did we say at the top? With a pitching staff that's really good at limiting hits. They do give up some walks. Maybe the difference is going to be who can get some slug in the middle of that lineup. And we see Nystrom and Finney at 3-4. We saw a new look top of the lineup today, and that's exactly what's made the difference here so far.
A busy inning for Boardman, who tosses over for the third out, but Jackson Nystrom sending up some fireworks in advance of the 4th of July. A home run to straightaway center to give Alameda a 1-run lead. They look to protect it when we come back in the 8th. Ethan Siegel and Kyle Floyd on the Merchants streaming network. Will Bonini enters the game. He's been one of the go-to guys for TC Fairfield and this staff, making his 5th appearance of the season, holding a 1.23 ERA with just over 1. He's been excellent so far this season. The only one run allowed he's allowed so far this season was in a game against the Stompers. Also recorded a save against Sonoma earlier this year. Alameda needing 6 outs to put this one away. We mentioned, Kyle, these teams have a history of playing in close contests. This one is no different, and it's McCann Libby will be the first to try and stop Sonoma from losing what was once a 3-0 lead. What feels like eons ago, as time is called for a ball sputtering onto the field, taking away what looked to be a pretty good pitch from Will Bonini. It looked like that one escaped the bullpen throwing session that was happening out in right field.
Mention it again. We said the team that can find a way to slug in the middle of the lineup, that could make the difference. And this inning with Libby, 470 slug this season. Shannon, 460. Hegeman, 495. And what an effort.
Ben Seitz almost tracked that one down. It was that same bullpen who he just mentioned who had to clear out to make room for a dashing Seitz who put his body on the line to try and make a diving play, but unable to get to it just by a handful of inches.
I would say he must enjoy getting to move out there to right field a couple innings ago. Excellent effort from Seitz. It's representative of the mentality of this team. It's aggression on the base pass. It's aggression on defense. It's one of the first things Coach Fairfield said to us this season.
0-1 to McCann Libby. Bonini goes to the off-speed and misses outside. Bonini has four-seam fastball in the mid-80s, which he throws about 80% of the time, to go with slider. The occasional changeup. That was the changeup right there, but missed low, 2-1 count. Bonini also pitched in that game against the Burnaby Bulldogs at the Grand Forks Tournament through 2 innings of hitless ball, no runs, 3 strikeouts. Struggling to find the strike zone right now in Sonoma. Can Libby ahead in the count now 3-1. Louisiana Tech infielder gets a hold of that one, sends it deep out into left field, stopping around the warning track to try and make the play was Nystrom, but he fumbled that one and lost it. Should have been a routine out, but got a poor read on the ball and tried to catch it at about knee level, and it escaped him. So a double, or reach second base, but that is almost certainly an E7 as it'll get recorded in the book. So the third error now for Alameda. That's 3 on each side.
Number 37, Brady Shannon.
And with no outs, Nystrom give and he take away.
Yeah, I think Nystrom himself would tell you that's an error, that's a ball that he's got to catch in. An uncharacteristic showing by this Merchants defense. We saw Latimer unable to glove one earlier. Similarly, just in his glove and then popped right out.
Now Brady Shannon, 0 for 2 with a walk. Has a runner in scoring position. Big opportunity here against Will Bonini.
So the thing about this Stompers lineup, they average-wise don't hit very well, but they will make you throw strikes, and you will have to come into the zone at some point. We need some quality pitches from Bonini here.
This one spiked out into center field. Turner able to snag it, but able to advance on the play. Libby will get to third and now 90 feet away from tying this game in the top of the 8th with the sac fly still in play.
And that was a quality pitch from Bonini. Breaking ball left up a little bit, but on the outside part of the plate.
Number 19, Cameron Hegeman.
Now Cameron Hegeman in a clutch situation. He's already been really good for this team, only in his 6th game since joining the Stompers about a week ago. He's hitting .306 and entering today's contest, I should say. Had a single, came around to score back in the 2nd.
It's a good first pitch. Fastball on the outside corner there to Hegeman.
The infield playing at the edge of the grass. A swing and a miss and a pitch way outside of the zone. Hegeman wants that one back.
That's where that just make contact approach maybe comes back to bite you, trying to do the bare minimum, but chased a pitch that he shouldn't have.
So now behind in the count, 0-2. Bonini would love a strikeout here. Kicks and fires, and he'll get it. Strike 3 on 3 pitches. Perfect timing on that one. And Will Bonini gets a crucial second out as Hegeman makes his way back to the Stomper dugout.
Number 25, Trent Keys.
Now Trent Keys, who's reached 3 times, a walk, a single, and a double.
Ethan, you hear coaches tell players all the time not to do too much. I think Hegeman might have tried to do too little in that at-bat.
Tell me why you feel that way.
Took a fastball on the outside corner, and then you're thinking just get that run home to tie the game. And Hegeman has got good plate discipline. He swung at 2 pitches that I think he doesn't swing at if there's not a runner at third base. So he's just trying to make contact and put it in play, but he swung at 2 pitches that I think he would like to have back.
Keys ahead 1-0. That pitch froze Keys, but was in the strike zone for strike 1. We mentioned earlier in the broadcast, entering today's contest, Keys hitting just .171, but a .532 on-base percentage. He's gotten 27 free passes, courtesy of walks and hit by pitches. Make it 28 after a walk back in the 2nd. This one spliced over to the second baseman, Latimer. Had to go to the ground and throw from his behind, but he gets it over to Angelo Luna for the 3rd out in order to preserve the 1-run lead as we head to the home half of the 8th.
Who's it? 17.
Bottom of the 8th, Riley Winchell against a new pitcher into the game, righty Braden Gens, who has really come into the role of Sonoma's de facto closer.
17, Riley
He's
Winchell.
been excellent so far this season. Thrown just under 9 innings. Has 1 save on the year and just a 226 batting average allowed. ERA hovering around 4. But has some really good stuff from the mound. And shows it off there on the first pitch to Riley Winchell, who swung through, but nothing but air.
Gens can get that fastball up into the low 90s. Wicked slider.
Winchell taps one, started to run it out, but that one will trail foul, so he'll walk back towards home plate.
Now it's 60% fastballs, 40% sliders for Gens. Prototypical back end of the bullpen kind of stuff.
And so often we're mentioning players who have, athletic histories in their families, a lot of times dads or uncles who played baseball or moms who played softball. How about Braden Gens, whose dad was a member of the crew and rode for UC Santa Barbara back in the day? It's a fun athletic lineage going from rowing to baseball.
Well, I mentioned, let's pull back the curtain a little bit. I mentioned to my wife last night a couple of the fun things about prepping for these games. One is little nuggets like that. Hayden Young Goldberg, his great-grandfather, was a boxer, stuff like that. As he gets him looking there, that was a beautiful pitch. But also, for Gens, less important than that strikeout, but noting some of the summer ball teams that some of these players play for. How about the Bismarck Larks?
I have learned an unbelievable amount of random summer ball teams, names, towns I didn't know existed. That I agree, that's been a real treat, and just across summer league ball, minor league ball, the creativity in baseball in terms of names is just unparalleled. It's absolutely awesome. As Angelo Luna, the pinch hitter in the game for Noah Smallwood, steps in for his first at bat of the day. Smallwood had really struggled, was taken out as a defensive substitution a few innings ago, but was 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. So Luna comes in, and going back to that point, I'm not sure if you saw, but HBO's John Oliver recently renaming a minor league baseball team out in Erie. I believe they're now the Moon Mammoths for a handful of games. An awesome logo. I'm all for the creativity. Alameda Merchants is pretty solid. You're not seeing too many merchants across different leagues, but
On the nose.
that pitch skied into shallow left, the shortstop. Boardman trailing back. Kyle, if you had to take your pick, what's the best name of the teams in the CCL?
Name of the teams in the CCL.
Yeah, putting you on the spot here.
I like the Crawdads.
Crawdads is a really good one.
It might be just
Right
because
fielder,
I
number
enjoy
1,
Crawdads,
Ben
but
Seitz.
I like the Walnut Creek Crawdads.
Yeah, I think that's a solid candidate.
How about you, Ethan?
I think the Sonoma Stompers is a pretty solid one. I like the alliteration they have going for them.
Yeah, famously, Ben Lindbergh and Sam Miller of Fangraphs took over the Sonoma Stompers some 10 years ago. What a great...
Who's warming up out in left field right now, who'll be coming into the game for the save situation.
So I said to you off, Mike, one of the few guys who gets it up into the 90s for the Merchants, like Gens does.
Quick work for Gens. Strike 3 looking against Ben Seitz. But it'll be Eric Diaz entering the game here in the top of the 9th to try and close things out for the Merchants. You won't want to miss this.
First team all conference.
Eric Diaz in the game trying to protect this one-run lead for Alameda. He's got a 2.35 ERA, a K per 9, just under 11. And while TC Fairfield makes the change, a little chess game, Zach Pace will go to a pinch hitter. Hyun Han entering the game for Sonoma, replacing Anthony Shepler. It'll be Han before the top of the order, Boardman, Sebastiani, Sepulveda. Some of the scariest hitters in this Sonoma offense that Eric Diaz will have to go through to secure this win.
Han, one of several two-way players on the Sonoma roster.
First pitch from Diaz, inside part of the plate, strike one. Diaz didn't make the trip with the team for the tournament in Canada, so his last appearance was all the way back on June 20th, about 2 weeks ago, through 2 innings and allowed 2 earned runs. Those were his first runs allowed all season in his 6th appearance. This one, number 7. Skips a pitch in the dirt for ball 1.
With the velocity he's got, you might take the rest side of the rest versus rust argument. Mislocation that time, but hope he's got big stuff in that arm.
Sun has fully set here at Pat Bale Field, although it's still just 8:40. This game has been moving along in large part thanks to a very quiet middle part of the game. Sonoma's been held scoreless since the 2nd inning. This is their last chance here in the 9th. Both teams 5 hits, both teams 3 errors. The only difference is 1 on the scoreboard, thanks to a Jackson Nystrom homer back in the 7th, as Eric Diaz finds the strike zone once again to even the count at 2s.
Mentioned Han, a two-way player, pitched 10 innings this spring, was first team all-conference as a hitter, hit .404 in 140 at-bats at Los Medanos College.
He struggled as a hitter so far this summer, just 115. This one poked toward the right side of the infield. Latimer, who's had a busy day, moves over to make the play. Latimer had that one uncharacteristic error, but other than that, he has been really solid from his home at second base and extremely busy, as I mentioned.
Shows real good range over there, especially going to his left. His first step is excellent. That's a ball that with an inferior second baseman could have found its way into right field. Good play by Latimer.
So now the top of the order, Boardman 1 for 4 on the day, facing Diaz. First pitch fouled back and out of play. Diaz working ahead for the second straight batter with a first pitch strike. Always dangerous when getting on the base. 11 stolen bases this season, leading the team, but now down 0-2. Tensions rising here at Pat Bale Field. It's another one in a 2-year storied history of close games between these two programs. The 0-2 pitch from Diaz. Sent foul.
So,
Kyle, for 2 teams that are separated currently by a half a game in the standings, these are the types of pitches, the types of at-bats, the types of games that could really matter when all things are finished at the end of July and it comes time to be awarded postseason seeding. The 0-2 once again poked foul. Boardman staying alive.
that RBI single that Boardman had in the 2nd inning, we talked about how he took that pitch off the outside corner the other way. The last 2 pitches have been fouled off the other way. You see his approach, and you also see how far into left center field that Cy Turner is playing him to try to combat that approach. Several steps into left center field.
This pitch, really close play. I was waiting for a decision because home plate umpire Ricardo Rodriguez has had a tendency of waiting 2 seconds before delivering his strike call, but that time didn't go into the motion to call for a strike. It just missed, and the Merchants dugout let him know they didn't disagree with that call so much.
I think he might have been the only person in this ballpark who didn't think that pitch was a strike.
So an extra gift to Colton Boardman. Let's see if he can do something with it. Diaz stepped off after that debacle to reset. Kicks and fires. Another pitch low. Now 2-2 count. This will be the 7th pitch of the at-bat.
There's no photographer. Yeah, photo. Different games.
That's 3 straight misses now for Eric Diaz. Great work by Boardman, who spoiled some pitches away, took a few, now has a full count. Waiting pitch number 8. Inside, ball 4. It pushed Boardman off the plate a little bit. The Merchants still thought that was in enough of the strike zone to be a called strike 3, but instead the speedy Colton Boardman makes the trip down to first. The gravity of this situation totally changes. As I mentioned, those 11 stolen bases that lead the Stompers. And Nick Sebastiani, who's the team leader in home runs, now up at the plate. Diaz fires another first pitch strike. After a handful of misses, good for him to get back on the board.
As you mentioned earlier, Sebastiani, the CCL leader in home runs as well. Mentioned Boardman's speed. Winchell had a rough throw earlier in the game, but has shown the ability to throw guys out so far this summer.
Sebastiani, an interesting line today. He's 0 for 2, but reached on an error, then stole a base, a hit by pitch, and a triple. The 0-1 from Diaz. That's going to escape the catcher Winchell. They're not even going to have to steal with Boardman. He advances courtesy of a passed ball, and now a runner in scoring position to tie this game.
It wouldn't quite be a Merchants Stompers game without a little intrigue here, Ethan.
No, it would not. And now a dangerous place for Alameda. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, 1 runner on.
Power versus power.
Infield playing with some depth, showing some respect to Sebastiani. Another pitch misses, 2-1 count.
And he had those 2 pitches the last at bat that he thought were going to be strikes, Ethan, and you can't say for sure if that's in his head, but he has been well off in this at bat.
2-1.
Don't know where that was either.
I thought that was perfectly in the zone, if I'm being honest, Kyle. I don't know where that missed, if it did at all. Cy Turner dropped to his knees in center field disagreeing with that call, and he probably had the best view of anyone in the ballpark, of maybe outside of the home plate umpire, of where that went, but he's the only one who matters in terms of calling ball strikes. Now the 3-1 swung on. Is it going to stay in play? Winchell is trailing over to make the play.
Didn't quite make it.
Was unable to snag the ball.
He had a long run.
It was a close play, but it will count for a second strike nonetheless. But once again, a missed opportunity and a potential gift here to a Stomper hitter, although that was a tough play for the catcher to make.
Tough play. We saw a similar play on the other side with Pulowski earlier, where he made it over there, but it's tough to run and track where you are versus the fence. He also had the on-deck hitter to contend with, so made it to the spot, just couldn't complete the play.
Massive pitch upcoming. Full count, runner on second, 1 out here in the top of the 9th. Sonoma trails by 1. The payoff pitch from Diaz. Once again, a payoff pitch too far inside, ball 4. And now a potential runner to take the lead is on first base.
You don't want to walk the go-ahead run onto first base, obviously, but I don't think that walk is the worst result in the world. With the ability in the box by Sebastiani, you don't want to give in to him there if you don't have to. It was a good pitch just off the inside corner. Just all about how you follow it up with Sepulveda.
Yeah, Sepulveda, who we mentioned last time, did so much damage against this Merchants team last time he faced them. Grounded out back in the 7th when he came in to pinch hit. But a chance to break the hearts of Merchants fans once again for Sepulveda. Should mention that he homered back in that game against Will Benini, who we didn't get to face today, was in between those innings that he made plate appearances.
It's been a bit of a theme for us today to discuss the varied athletic backgrounds of these players.
Number 46, Esteban Sepulveda.
Diaz, the closer, was Defensive Lineman of the Year in high school. He is in the trenches here in the bottom of the ninth.
Good wordplay. That's well done.
Thank you. Like how I sold that. Kind of paused, drew it out.
Crucial at-bat for Sepulveda. Another first pitch strike for Diaz. He's been throwing those consistently. It's the middle and later stages of the at-bats where he's gotten into some trouble.
That's fantastic location. If you're Diaz or if you're me, you're wondering where that call was a couple at-bats ago, but did well to get ahead there.
Now the 0-1. Same location, same result. Strike two. Diaz ahead 0-2.
Surprised that Sepulveda took both of those pitches.
Lots of nervous energy coming from both these dugouts. It's definitely white knuckle time here at Pat Bale Field. The 0-2 from Diaz. Swing and a miss. Strike three. A massive strikeout for Eric Diaz to get the second out here of the top of the ninth inning, and now just one put out away.
Good morning.
A victory here to kick things off in July.
Sorry, Ethan. I was just going to say good morning, good afternoon, and good night on three fastballs. It's hard to know what Sepulveda was looking for there. We know what Diaz brings on the mound. It is that low 90s fastball. He got three of them down the chute. Took the first two, was well behind the last one for the strikeout.
Still work to be done. It's Diaz versus the catcher, Pawlowski. 0 for 4 tonight. A strikeout, 2 groundouts, and a flyout. Has spread the ball all over the field, right field, to the shortstop, to the second baseman. Diaz threw a first pitch ball, a rarity in this inning. Boardman with a sizable lead off second base. Diaz trying to make it not matter as he throws a strike.
Diaz is unbothered on the mound. Maybe some tension in the dugouts here in the broadcast booth. Not for Diaz.
Now the 1-1 just misses low. It's Boardman on second, Sebastiani on first. 2 outs. 2-1 count to Connor Pawlowski. Diaz fires and misses again. A good block by Winchell to keep it in front of him, prevent any runners from advancing. But now a 3-1 count. Danger of walking a third batter here on the top of the ninth.
Just 3 walks and 29 batters faced coming into this one. But we talked about it. This is what Sonoma's offense does. Not high in average, but they get on base. They will make you throw strikes.
The 3-1 pitch. Low. Ball 4. Bases loaded.
I'll tell you what, Ethan, sometimes it's easy to have a tendency to oversell things in the broadcast booth. I'd say we've maybe been right on with this one. Fitting that we've got bases loaded, 2 outs here.
For McCann Libby, who's 0 for 4 today, but reached on an error back in the 8th inning. Hitting just .215 entering today's contest, and he's going to make Diaz throw strikes. Diaz misses outside for ball 1. Libby just 2 of 17 against Alameda this summer. Has really struggled against the Merchants, but that can all be forgotten with 1 good plate appearance here. Diaz finds the strike zone on the 1-0. Really good pitch, clipping the outside part of the plate. Not much for Libby to do with that one.
No, and really not much for anybody to do with this entire inning. The 3 base runners are on 3 walks. He had the ground out, no hard contact. If he can command it, he's got a chance.
The 1-1. Just missed a little bit further outside. Diaz was trying to find that same location on that last strike, but this time just missed it by a few inches, so now a 2-1 count.
Yeah, you saw Winchell try to frame it there too, but home plate umpire Ricardo Rodriguez wasn't buying it.
The 2-1 pitch. Swing and a miss, and now Eric Diaz and the Merchants are just one strike away, but bases loaded, 2 balls, 2 strikes. McCann Libby stepped out, took a few practice swings, re-enters the batter's box. Righty versus righty matchup. Diaz kicks and delivers. Strike 3! Book it! Alameda wins 4-3, and Eric Diaz slams the door on Sonoma's comeback effort. What a ball game, Kyle. That was an absolutely electric game. Some fireworks early, lots of scoring, and then a deep scoring lull, but it led to an exciting finish, and Jackson Nystrom's solo shot in the 7th inning was the difference.
We talked all
Stumpers
game
score 3 runs
about the
on 5
close
hits
games
and
that these
3
teams
hits, 3
play
errors.
with
The
each other,
Merchants
and we
score
saw
4
a little
runs
bit
on 5 hits.
of everything in
Also
this
3
game of
errors.
why that happened. Some defensive miscues
Merchants
on
led
both
the
sides of the ball, some good plate
from,
discipline shown on
go
both
ahead,
sides of the
hold
ball,
on in the bottom
some good
of
pitching shown on both sides of the
7th
ball,
by
and like you
Jackson
said,
Nystrom.
it came down to the power of Jackson Nystrom. We led this broadcast talking about the power that he exhibited up in Canada. First game back stateside, and his home run is the difference in this ball game.
And now Alameda gets sole possession of second place. Stay just 1.5 back of the league division leading Walnut Creek Crawdads, I should say. But an exciting return to Pat Bale Field after about 2 weeks of a hiatus where the team went up to Canada and was really able to come together as a team, and they're really looking to make this push in the July portion of their schedule and try and make the playoffs, the postseason, as an affiliate member of the CCL. And it's a really good start to the month against a really, really quality Sonoma Stompers team that holds a lot of its opponents under 3 runs, and tonight 4 was enough.
One of the things that we've mentioned over and over is how deep that this team is, how, they can beat you in different ways. And coming into this game with several players out, with a new lineup that we're not necessarily used to, a new configuration, we find a new way. They don't slug off Sonoma. Slugging was the difference today.
Eric Diaz, although it was scary, records the save. 5-5 in the hits department, 3-3 in the errors category, but Sonoma, who left 11 on base. And as we mentioned, Jackson Nystrom, solo homer to straightaway center, proved to be the difference in this one. Thank you so much for tuning in on the Merchants streaming network. For Kyle Floyd, I'm Ethan Siegel. Once again, thank you for tuning in as the Mercs capture a 4-3 victory. We'll be back tomorrow for more CCL action as the Merchants come back to take on the Legends tomorrow, Menlo Park, and another exciting game for a team right in the thick of it in the CCL standings. Signing off, I'm Ethan Siegel.